Today's lesson is going to be on 2.1 through 2.5. We're going to take some review notes because you do have a quiz coming up on Monday. So each of the problems we go through today is going to be helpful for you to know for your quiz on Monday. Number 1, complete the statement using greater than, less than, or equal to. A lot of times what helps is just to rewrite the numbers directly underneath there. You line up those decimal points. So let's look at the whole number. This whole number is a 23. This one's a 21. So I want you guys to read it to me from left to right and tell me what I should put in the blank. 23.8 is, keep reading. Okay, greater than, how many of you guys got that? Okay, that one is greater than. Okay, just remember the open large part right here, the open part goes toward the bigger number. Okay, so that is greater than. Going on to the next one, number 2. If I'm rounding this decimal to the nearest tenth, which one is my tenths place? The 5. So the 5 asks his neighbor to the right of him. What does he ask him? Okay, he asks him if he's 5 or bigger. What does the 3 say? No. So what happens to 16.5, guys? Does it get bigger or stay the same? It stays the same. If that number is not bigger than 5, then it stays exactly the same. It asks us to find the sum or the difference. Who would like to help me with number 3? All right, Gabby, go ahead. What should I do first?
300.
Okay, 13. We know the decimal point is right there at the end. So you're right, we do want to go ahead and add 2 placeholders there. Very good. All right, who wants to do the subtraction one for us? Okay, for the next one, we are subtracting them. Do I need to line up my decimal points or no? Yes, whenever you add or subtract decimals, the decimal points must be lined up. Okay, Emma, 2 minus 1? 5 minus 9?
4.
Nope. I gotta borrow. Borrow from the 2 and make it a... That makes the 5a. Okay, 15 minus 9. Bring down. Decimal point. 1 minus 6. Okay, make it a 6. That turns this into an 11. 11 minus 6. 5. 6 minus 1. And bring down the... Excellent. Okay. Just remember, for this quiz, we are not using calculators, so make sure that you remember. Do those things carefully. Remember when you need to borrow from someone, okay? So 155.61. Next up, number 5 is finding the product. Asia, help me out with how to do this one. Do I need to line up my decimal points? No, when you're multiplying, you do not line up the decimal points. You just line up the ones, the tens, those kind of numbers, okay? Go ahead.
6, 0, 8, 24.
Go ahead and add it up.
2, 10, 15, 5, 2.
Okay, remember over here, how many decimal points did I have?
2, 1.
2 and 1, the total is?
3.
Okay, so we want to move it over 3 places. What's my answer?
25.542.
Excellent job. Number 6 tells us to evaluate the expression. If you remember, this is where we are plugging in the number that we had before. Okay, Jakari, help me out. Instead of writing y minus 32, what should I put there? You are correct. Okay, so I plugged it in. Now I've got to rewrite it. So I'm going to do 36.8. And where does the 32 go? Because I don't see a decimal point there. The decimal point comes right afterwards, so you're right. We need to go ahead and add a 0 as a placeholder. 4.8 is correct. Great job. Okay, so when you're evaluating expressions, you're just plugging in other numbers and then doing whatever the operation tells you to do. Number 7, order the numbers from least to greatest. When we are putting these in order from least to greatest, we're just going to go ahead and rewrite them because this helps us to be able to very clearly see which ones are in the ones, tenths, and hundredths places. So when you're on your quiz on Monday, I want to see you do this for your work shown. Michael, help me out. Which one is the smallest one out of all the ones places?
0.
The 0, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that down here, 0.65. Kyla, what ones place is next the smallest one?
3.
The 3, but as I look at it, I see this is a 3 and that's a 3. So what place do I have to go to? We do. We have to look at the tens place. So 3.1 or 3.9? Which one's the next tiniest? 3.1. So we're going to rewrite that as our next one. 3.17. Asia, what comes next?
3.91.
Good job. And Gabby, what's the largest one?
7.9.
Very good. So remember, before a test or a quiz or even on homework, you want to just double check. This is a 0, 3, 3, and 7. So I do know that I did go in order from least to greatest. Problem number 8 is a story problem. It says Dr. Belk earns $12.75 an hour at the T-ball game, and he worked for 6.2 hours. How much money did he earn? What do I have to do to get this answer, guys?
Multiply.
I have to multiply the two numbers together. So if he was getting $12.75 an hour and he worked for 6.2 hours, we got to multiply them together. Do I need to line up my decimal points like this? Yes or no, guys?
No.
No. What do I do?
Just put it under.
You just put it underneath it. You line up the numbers, but not the decimal point. Do it with me. 5 times 2?
10.
Everyone. 7 times 2?
14.
Plus 1.
15.
2 times 2?
4.
Plus 1.
5.
1 times 2.
2.
Okay. Now don't forget to put your
0.
Your 0 is a placeholder. 5 times 6?
30.
30. 0 on bottom. Your 3 goes up on top. 7 times 6?
42.
Plus 3.
45.
5 on bottom. Put the 4 on top. 2 times 6?
12.
Plus 4.
16.
1 times 6?
6.
Plus 1.
7.
Okay, so now we're going to add them together. 0 was 0.
0.
5 was 0.
5.
5 plus 5.
10.
The next ones, 6, 2, and 1.
8.
And bring down.
But no, it's not because you do
Okay, don't forget that 1 right there. And bring down your
7.
7. Okay, so now I'm doing this. I did multiply. How many decimal points were on 12.75?
4. 3.
12.75. $12.75. 2 decimal places it moved over. 6.2. 1. How many total? 3. Okay, so I move it over 1, 2, 3. What's my answer?
79.50.
Not 79.50. Okay, he told me right there, this is a money problem, so I've got to put this right there. Now, does that look like a normal money problem? How come? I have 3 numbers here after the decimal point. What do I need to do? You just get rid of this 0 right here. So in order to put your answer down, you're going to rewrite it underneath $79.05. Number 9 has asked us to write it in scientific notation. This is a big number, 5,450,000. Where is the understood decimal point? It's at the end, okay? But if you remember, I want to move it over. Right now, you can see there are 7 numbers in front of the decimal point. I only want 1 number in front of the decimal point, and that number needs to be 1 or bigger and less than the number 10. So I've got to keep moving this over until it only has 1 number in front of it right there, okay? Repeat after me. Drop it down.
Drop it down.
What do I drop down?
The 5.45.
5.45, okay? If you remember, these 4 decimal or zeros that are there after the decimal, I don't need those there anymore, okay? So we do not need to write those at all. Instead, whenever I'm putting something in scientific notation, you have to multiply by what number?
10.
Times 10. And then how do I figure out what my exponent is that goes there in the end? how many times we moved the decimal. So let's count how many times we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what's the answer, guys? 5.45 times 10 to the 6th power. And this is what scientific notation looks like. When we are writing something in standard form just means normal number. So the first thing you got to do is drop down the number that they have right here. With standard form, you do not want any decimal points. So right now I've got to move it. How many times will I move it?
5.
5 times. That right there, that little tiny exponent, tells me how many times to move it. What do I do with these little acorns? Stick some zeros into it. Am I done?
No, ma'am.
A lot of people on their homework tried to box that in. Please don't do that. In order to get the correct answer, you must rewrite it underneath. Do I let these zeros float away and go away? Why not?
Because you need them.
You only let them go when it comes after a decimal point, not when it's a regular number. What's my answer, guys?
547,800.
Okay, 547,800. All right, this is a reminder. Please do not forget that we do have our second quiz over Chapter 2 on Monday.